Hello and welcome back, and you currently find me in the garden, and I'm actually finishing up the last of our harvest out the front. Mixed results, and I'll share those with you, and we still have more to come, but I'll just talk you through what's happened in our garden. This year our black currants have been a total disaster. Something has eaten them. It's decimated the plant. I don't know if it will come back. It's trying to do something. There is obviously shoots and that, but it's not thriving. In other years we've had more black currants than we can eat, and the birds were indeed helping themselves. This year, for some reason, it's been a total disaster. Plum tree, I thought we'd lost it because it had a lot of, should we say, breaks in the bark, and it was weeping resin. But it did throw a lot of leaves, and it did have a few plums. But unfortunately, I've suffered at the hands of magpies and crows and pigeons, which have been decimating my fruit trees. But I'm just glad this tree survived. It did throw some plums, but obviously they went to the wildlife. This apple tree here has done very well, and it's very vigorous. It's growing well, and I'm well pleased with it. It had about 20 apples on it. We've had a few, but this is the last remaining one, and I'll show you what's happened. We've had magpies, crows and that pecking away, eating them. We've been away for a month, and obviously we've been providing free food for the wildlife. So disappointed, but at least this is the first year it has actually produced apples, this tree, so I'm well chuffed. I know it will produce. This one here has produced a big crop of apples, and we've had a load. There's still some to come, although they're not in the best condition now, because you know, it seems to have been suffering at the hands of the drought conditions here. And like I said, we've been away. You can just see those birds heading south. But yeah, this tree here produces apples, and we don't have any worries about this one. This pear tree is doing very well, and it seems to be really thriving here, and it's gained about a foot just this summer in height, so I presume within the next 3 to 4 years we should see pears on that one. The cherry tree was pretty much just a stalk from there. But yeah, it seems to have thrived even in the dry conditions here, so I'm quite pleased, and yet again I think this will survive here. The chickens are doing their bit for our garden, and you can see any garden waste, you know, of a organic nature just goes in here. They break it down, turn it over, eat the insects, and they turn this into a compost. And this is what we use for our plants, which is just as well, because from what I understand, compost is due to become unavailable pretty soon, to it being unenvironmentally friendly to process and harvest. So we're ahead of the game by making our own. Strawberries are pretty much anybody can grow them, and yet again we've had a real successful year with those. And before we went away, we were quite often eating ice cream outside on the patio and picking our strawberries to put inside to them. So I'll just quickly let you have a look. These incidentally didn't have no chicken compost put in, and as you can see they're quite small. These here have come to the end of the season, and I've taken runners from them. But we've had a fantastic crop out of all these strawberries. And these are the runners planted out, and I presume I might yet see a late crop from those. This is the last of our stock that didn't sell before we went away. And it's looking a bit tired. It's at the end of its season. But hopefully some of these we can keep back for, well, pretty much next year. And these Indian bean plants I'm going to plant one of those in our garden. We have sold a few, but I think it's time for them to go out and be, well, try at least to get one to live in our garden. I'm not sure it will, due to the fact I think it likes a warmer climate. My fig tree, which we rescued, that was left in somebody's greenhouse to die, has done very well. It's thickened out and it's grown about 2 inches from where I planted it. So I'm hoping this south facing position against this wall, which reflects sun down here, will make this one really thrive. It looks to be working out that way anyway. This lime tree seems to be doing very well also, and I'm quite pleased with that. But this is a south facing position, so it's obviously getting a lot of sun. This is another pear tree, and this was just a twig when we had it. And yeah, this year it's shot up, and it's looking like this is going to do extremely well where we've planted it also. I will show you some photographs of the harvest we had before we went away, which was basically the peas and broad beans, and we had a good little harvest from them. But I've just harvested our potatoes. Some are very small, but some are usable. I'll keep the small ones for seed potatoes, and we'll eat the bigger ones. I'll show you those in a moment. But I'll quickly show you what I'm doing here at the moment to my vegetable patch. So as you can see, we've just harvested the potatoes and we're turning the ground over. And our lettuces, we did eat some from here before we went away. Like I said, it's had a month where it hasn't been attended, and it's been decimated with the slugs and insects, and the ones that have made it are now trying to go to seed, and that one has gone to seed. There's a few cabbages and cauliflowers still trying to come up, and the ones down there, they've been totally decimated with insects. So yeah, next year I'm going to have to figure out something better to try and give these a better chance. This has been a bit of a failure of mine, the cabbages, cauliflowers and lettuces, but this is all learning for me. We planted about 10 pumpkin seeds along the bank here. Only one has come up, and it's this one here, and I'm gently nursing this one because I'm going to see if I can get some pumpkins. It's a south facing spot, like I said, and with these dry conditions it's taking a bit of a battering, but I'm just putting a small bit of water around its base and seeing if I can just nurse it through till we get some wetter conditions. So you find me in the greenhouse, and I've had a lot of success up until now with my sweet potatoes. I'm going to show you what they're looking like now, and you know, I'm very surprised that they've survived a month with a very sparse bit of watering. But I'm back and I'm nursing these along, and I'm hoping, well, it was about 6 weeks ago these were actually transplanted as slips, or 5 weeks should I say, and they're doing very well. But from what I understand, I've got possibly another 2 months before I can harvest, but I'll just show you what they're looking like. So there you go, there's all my slips. They've been planted now for about 5 weeks, and as you can see, they're doing very well. And as I've showed you in a previous video, what I've done, I've upended some compost bags to give them the depth, stacked them side by side so they don't fall over, and basically planted about 5 slips in each one of these bags. They're all doing very well. Obviously they like the heat in here, and I'm able to control the temperature. We're beginning to come to the end of summer, going into autumn, so obviously they're going to need the climate control this greenhouse gives them. But interestingly, those sweet potatoes that I took or harvested the slips from, they're still going. I will put some more water on, but this is amazing me because these are only store sweet potatoes, generic ones I take it. And yeah, they're still trying to produce slips, which I will take some of those, and I'm going to have an experiment to see if I can produce sweet potatoes through the winter in this greenhouse from these. Yeah, so I'm going to water those sweet potatoes, wrap things up here in the garden tonight and go in. And as you can see, I've had some successes and some failures. But I'll just let you have a quick little look at a few of the apples, or the last of the ones we've been able to salvage off the trees. Here's just a few apples we've just taken from the trees down the bottom there, and we're going to make a apple crumble, or possibly get some blackberries, because obviously the blackberries are in season at the minute in the hedgerows, and we'll make a blackberry and apple crumble from these apples. So yeah, you know, we have had some reasonable success in the garden this year. And as I said on this start of my gardening adventure, if you want to call it that, it's all been a learning curve for me. I've watched my grandfather garden, and he was always very successful. And obviously it's stuff that he's learnt, because it doesn't flow in my veins naturally to be a gardener. But I'm beginning to learn how to do it, and this is my first year at trying to produce food. And I think I shall be continuing now. I do have the bug. I'm going to see the local farmer and get a load of cow manure, and I'm going to work that into my front vegetable patch to try and increase the productivity from it. That piece of ground has been sterile for 10-15 years at least. It's had black stuff on top of it, and then gravel to inhibit the weeds, but it's not had any use, that ground, so it might need a little bit of a help in feeding and nourishing it and getting it back to condition. So I will do that pretty much through the autumn, and let it do its thing and rest and work into the soil over the winter months. And yes, really for me it's the sweet potatoes I'm still waiting on now, and I'm keen to see how they work out, and I will let you know how that comes out in the end. But yeah, I just thought I'd do a quick garden update so you can see what's been happening. And yeah, this is Andy, all the best, and I'll catch you again.